Hey book pals, welcome back to the channel, and today I am bringing you my second book review, and oh my days, I cannot wait to get into this book review because I absolutely loved this book. The book we are going to be reviewing today is The Christmas Killer by Alex Pine, book one of his series. I finally read the first book and oh my god, I am obsessed. Before we jump into today's book review, I just want to preface this video by saying that there will be spoilers, so spoiler alert now. So if you don't want spoilers, if you think you're going to read this book for yourself, then please do proceed with caution, I suppose you could say. And without further ado, let's get on with today's book review. So in my previous book review, which is on my channel, I might try and link it in the description box down below if you would like to give the first book review that I did a watch. But what I did in that video was I answered some questions that I found online, and I am going to be doing that again. But first, I would like to read to you my initial thoughts on the book. So I finished the book. I actually sat there the other day and read 24 chapters back to back and finished the book. It was that good. And I finished and I came straight upstairs to my computer and I just typed and typed and typed and put all of my thoughts down, because then I thought I could read them in a book review video, because I wasn't able to film the video straight away and I wanted to capture those initial thoughts. So without further ado, I'm going to start reading what I wrote down as my initial thoughts. So after being captivated by Alex Pine's The Killer in the Cold and only realising after reading it that it was book 5 in the series, I knew I had to read the other books, so I swiftly ordered them and began to read book 1. I finished reading it 5 minutes ago, and after taking a moment to sit in stunned silence, I am now writing down my initial thoughts. I mean, to sum the book up in one word, wow. I feel like I've been on a roller coaster of emotions during my time reading this masterpiece. From the very beginning, I was gripped. The way the murders are written to be the victim's thoughts really made me feel like I was the one being murdered, which was chilling, and I did at times think, bloody hell, this book is scary. The chapters in which we got the victim's thoughts were printed in italic font, so I was able to easily see that another murder was about to take place. So I would take a big deep breath and feel a rush of adrenaline. I was hooked on every word. Every time a new lead would surface, I would gasp, and my list of questions and theories would grow. Just as I would think, oh, it has to be them, something would change. An alibi confirmed or new evidence, and I would be taken back to the drawing board, much like the detectives in the book. I loved the addition of the Christmas cards. The fact their messages were printed in bold font made them really stand out, and I would tend to reread these messages and feel a similar chill to the people of Kirkby Abbey. Charlie's murder felt predictable. Knowing that the murderer clearly believed his victims deserved to die, and given that it had been made clear of Charlie's affair from the very beginning, I was not totally surprised when he was revealed as victim number 1. I was, however, very saddened. Oh, very saddened? Is that even a word? I was very sad about his dog, poor baby. Lorna's death shocked me. Her thoughts, prior to knowing who they belonged to, had me questioning who it could be that was about to be victim number 2. I couldn't believe that a headmistress was responsible for ending another person's life, much less a child's. I also found reading her thoughts the most chilling. I think because at the time I was home alone, and so it had my anxiety rise a little bit, and I was very thankful when my mum arrived home soon after. Daniel's death did shock me, but at the same time, I feel I could have easily predicted it once he was cleared as a potential suspect. Given his past, it wasn't surprising to me that Daniel was on the hit list. As the pages left of my book drew smaller, I was filled with such anticipation. I knew that at any moment I could have all my questions answered. Little did I know the shock that would consume me as the truth was uncovered. Firstly, James going solo, knowing full well he could be on the path of a serial killer. Mate, do you not watch the films? Like, come on. When James discovered who Lorna had confessed to, I gasped so loud I startled a dog that I was looking after at the time. I then started to think and question, and I found myself going, no, surely not. So before I go any further, I'm going to say who the killer is. So again, spoiler alert, the killer was none other than Father Silver, the bloody priest, the priest who had been so heavily involved in the investigation, knew details others did not, received the same Christmas cards, held bloody memorial services for the victims, and this whole time he was the one killing them. Mind blown. I kind of knew it wouldn't be as simple as James discovering this and the priest holding his hand up, which obviously was confirmed when the priest hit James round the head. What did shock me though was when the priest ended up in James and Annie's home, armed with his knife, and revealed Annie was on his list of those who deserved to die for having an abortion 20 years ago. By this point, my adrenaline was pumping. I wished I had not read book 5 prior to this book, as it meant knowing that Annie was very much alive, which kind of stemmed the adrenaline slightly. But I think for readers who are reading the books in the correct order, this moment is going to be so full of suspense and adrenaline and anxiety. Credit to James for getting to Annie so quick, despite having a head injury. The entire dialogue of Father Silver explaining his motives and why he did what he did, that he was meant to kill Janet Dyer, but then saw an opportunity with Daniel, who was on his hit list anyway, and then knowing Annie would be alone and decided to move her up the list and go to her instead of Janet. Just wow, I was gasping left, right and centre. The pieces really started to fit together, and then came the final part of the puzzle. Father Silver had discovered these flaws about the villagers through confessionals, and then of course it all made sense. By this point, my head was pounding, and I, just like James, began kicking myself for not making the connection sooner. The ending was shocking and totally unexpected, which as a reader I love. If the outcome is too predictable, it hinders the suspense and process of reading the book in its entirety. The fact I would never have guessed Father Silver as the killer meant that I felt compelled to read the book from beginning to end, often not wanting to put the book down and participate in the real world. Overall, The Christmas Killer is a 5-star read and is testimony to the brilliance of Alex Pine's writing and ability to pull the reader in and make them feel part of the story. I would highly recommend this book to anyone who loves murder mysteries or something quite chilling that gets the adrenaline pumping. Now, I'm going to take some aspirin, have a lie down to recover before I make a start on book 2. Okay, so now we're going to make a start on answering just a few questions about the book. The first question is, what did you like best about this book? And for me, I loved that it was so full of suspense and it was chilling, and you really felt like you were part of the story. Like I just said in my initial thoughts, you felt like this was happening to you. And it definitely got the adrenaline pumping, and I absolutely just loved it. It was captivating. The next question is, what did you like least about this book? And it sounds weird to say it, but my favourite thing about the book is also my least favourite thing. it was how chilling and scary it was at times. I think I'm one of those people who doesn't really like being scared, and I scare easily. So the fact that this book at times was so scary and I was reading it at home on my own, I would sort of sit there and my anxiety would start like rushing through my head, and I would be like ringing up family being like, are you coming home? I don't want to be on my own anymore. But at the same time, that was also my favourite thing. So yeah, it was a weird roller coaster of emotions reading that book. So the next question is, what character in the book did you like the best? Now, in my previous video, I answered this question and I said James Walker. And again, I absolutely loved him in this book. I thought that he was just brilliant, and so cleverly written. But I would actually have to say that in this book, my favourite character has to be Father Silver, because he was so under the radar and so like you didn't have any suspicion around him. Like the whole time reading the book, you know, he was very much present from the early stages of the book, and never once did I suspect that he could in fact be the killer. It never even crossed my mind. So I feel like his character growth and development through the book, and he kind of shifted and you saw this different side to him. It was like, I absolutely loved that. I thought it was very, very clever, and he was such a well written character. Okay, so the next question we're going to answer is, what feelings did this book evoke? So I've said it several times, but fear, adrenaline, anxiety, a curiosity, with so many questions, so many theories needing answers. Yeah, this was just an emotional roller coaster of a book. Specifically, I think for me, I felt a lot of fear on chapter 27, which is when the second murder occurs. And at the time when I was reading it, I was sat at home, I was on my own, and I was just it was in the evening, and I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to curl up, I'm going to read some of my book. And then this particular chapter completely freaked me out. I'm going to read an extract from the book, and just to show you why I was so freaked out. So it says, the living room is the nearest, so I push open the door and switch on the light. But to my relief, the windows aren't broken. When I enter the kitchen a couple of seconds later, it's a different story. A glass panel in the door that leads out onto the patio has been smashed. But what alarms me even more is the fact that the door itself is open and the wind is whistling through it. As I step forward to close it, two things happen. First, the light I just turned on is suddenly switched off, and the room is plunged into darkness. Second, I hear a voice behind me saying, now it's your turn to die. And I just read that, and I just sat there, jaw dropped, and I just went, help. It freaked me, it proper freaked me out. It definitely got the adrenaline and the anxiety pumping, which just shows how cleverly written this book is. So definitely a lot of fear, anxiety, adrenaline was evoked during the reading process of this book. And then the final question I'm going to answer is, if you could hear this same story from another person's point of view, who would you choose? Now, I think that it would be so good to have this story, but from Father Silver's point of view. So, like, what it was like for him going to commit the killing, his thought process into deciding who would be on the hit list. what his thoughts were after his encounters with Detective James Walker, when he left and was like, okay, are that they on my trail or they're not on my trail. I think it would be so good to have a story from his perspective, and I would pay so much to read that. So if anyone, like if Alex Pine or the publisher of this book, which I believe is HarperCollins, I believe is the yeah, HarperCollins, if they see this video and could put that idea out there, I'd be very grateful. It's not gonna happen, but you know. Okay, so overall, as I've said already in this video, I would 100% recommend this book to anyone and everyone who will listen. If you are someone who, like me, loves crime fiction, murder mystery, and you also love a book that's full of suspense, adrenaline, and is quite chilling, then you definitely are going to want to give this book a read. And if you do read it, then obviously please do let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts, because I have so many thoughts on this book that I would love to be able to discuss with someone. So 100% would recommend this book. So just before I end today's video, I'm going to share with you what my now current read is, and it is another book by Alex Pine. It's book 2, The Killer in the Snow. A family sleeps, a killer awakes. So it says, a year has passed since DI James Walker cracked his biggest case yet, and he's hoping for peace and quiet this festive season. But across the fells, a local farmer returns home on Christmas Eve to find footsteps in the fresh snow that led down to his unused basement, and no footsteps leading away. Days later, his body is found alongside those of his wife and daughter. Without a neighbour for miles, there are no witnesses and little evidence, and the crime scene has strange echoes of another terrible murder committed at the farmhouse 20 years earlier. James knows that to catch this killer, he needs to solve a case that has long since gone cold. I cannot wait to get into this book, to give it a read, and of course, as soon as I have read it, there will be a book review, so keep an eye on the channel for that to come. And that is going to be all for today's book review and video. Thank you all so much for listening and for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments down below if you do give this book a read, or if you've already read it, what did you think? Also let me know in the comments down below what you are currently reading. Do you have any recommendations for me? And I will see you all in the next video.